Pitchmap Colors. This is the newest color-based plugin on the market, and let me tell you, it's pretty cool. Made by the Zynaptiq team in collaboration with AU5, this updated version of Pitchmap is easier to use than ever, allowing you the privilege of efficiency in your music. I, of course, use it to make color base, but you can use it however you feel like. Today, I'm going over how it works, how to use it, and how I've used it, so let's get into it. Most of what Pitchmap, and by extension Pitchmap Colors, does is it takes hundreds of frequency bands and retunes them, snapping them to whatever notes or scales you've chosen. This is basically auto-tune, but for every frequency in a sound. This can make an atonal sound harmonic, or change the key of a sound, and with Pitchmap Colors, this is easier than ever. First of all, pitch. The primary function of this plugin is right here on this piano. You can click in any note or scale you want and it'll snap frequencies to these notes in whatever octave that frequency is in. A, B, C, and D are the 4 different states you can swap through and customize, and you can even use MIDI routing. Each state can be transposed up or down with these arrows. Sick, Insane, and WTF are the intensity of the plugin, which will change on a case-by-case basis. Scale Shift is like a pitch shifter. It shifts corrected frequencies up or down within your selected notes. Finally, there's pitch rounding, which allows you to decide whether frequencies are rounded up, down, or to the nearest pitch of your chosen scale. Next up, filtering. There's a self-explanatory formant shifter, with the formant gamma being the Q of the formant shifter, like an EQ. Then there's the high and low pass, which can be toggled. You can choose to low pass and high pass normally, as well as cut off frequencies from being affected by Pitchmap Colors. The min-max pitch mode determines what happens to these frequencies, whether they're muted entirely or allowed to pass through unaffected. Finally, you have preset options, which can be selected through here or scrolled through, a transient bypass, which is what it sounds like, and a master bypass option signified by this power button in the top left corner. So that's all the features of the plugin. Let's get into how it can be used. So I'm just going to go over a couple of instances in which I've already used it. I made this little demo track here, but I'm just going to go over this one bass now. So starting off, I have this vital patch, which is made out of a couple different wavetables. This additive squish wavetable and this brown noise with the inharmonic stretch and the random amplitudes on it are being used to create some very metallic textures. And then I have this Atlantis table as a more growly layer that is not going into anything yet, but that's what it sounds like. So what I've done is I've recorded it and turned it into a WAV file. And what I'm doing here is something I learned from the Cryptochrome walkthrough. The sort of main bass of that song is kind of a similar principle where he's taking a bass that he made, and then what he's doing is he's putting it into a sampler, and that sampler is looping, and then he's combing through the sample itself at certain points. So I have that going on, and I've connected that to an automation clip just via macro 1. So if I turn that original vital patch off and just play the bass how it is kind of dry right now, I have all the effects off, by the way. So what I've got going on is just sort of combing through it. I have part of it being looped here and then another part here, and that's being transitioned through here. And I have the same thing going on when it's played a second time over here. By the way, that has this thing on it, which is basically just a bunch of OTTs and fat racks and whatnot. Some other stuff going on there, and then that's going into a mid-side EQ. So I've got that running through this patcher, which has the Pitchmap Colors on it, parallel processed with just the normal bass. So if I mute this, you can hear what's being played. This is in D minor, I believe. And it sounds pretty cool. I format shifted and scale shifted it up. I also have the pitch rounding to up instead of anything else, and it's on Insane. And then that's parallel processed once again. I have that being turned down with a fruity balance. That's going into a fuse compressor, kind of as an OTT. This EQ here, and then at the end there's another EQ, but in between those there is this sort of reverb, which I've made to have the ability to switch between a high frequency and low frequency reverb. If I play that without the pitch map, kind of boring. So you can hear what the difference is there. So what I've got is the main base all up here, and there's a supporting layer down here. The main base is being parallel processed with 2 pitch maps, so let's go over the original patch first. First off, I have a sine wave with the sync modulator on it, and its pitch is being controlled by this envelope here, giving it that sort of pew sound. Along with that, I have this wavetable I got from the Cryptochrome walkthrough, giving it a metallic character. The wavetable position and the sync is being controlled by this macro. That macro is also controlling the offset of this sample up here, which is something I made quite a while ago. I honestly have no clue how. That's then going through this patcher, which is my typical growl processing, into an EQ, an OTT, and a final EQ for everything. That sounds like this by itself. And then starting with the first pitch map layer, this is nothing special. It's playing an E minor 7 chord with an added fourth. The pitch rounding is down and the intensity is at WTF. That's going through an EQ, by the way. That's then being paired with this layer here, which is first of all going through a vocoder to make it a bit more watery. I'm also turning the modulator pitch shift up. Then that's going into my Pitchmap Colors, playing the exact same chord, and a pancake to pan it left and right in the stereo spectrum, and then an EQ at the end. Together, those pitch map layers sound like this. Then with the main bass. And finally, the supporting layer down here. I think that sounds pretty cool. Next up is a pretty standard use case for this plugin. For this growl, I'm using the MIDI input this time, and coming into that is an E minor 7th chord. For this growl real quick, what I've got is this Atlantis wavetable as the main thing, which has a bend minus all the way up. That's being layered with this complex FM2, which I believe is a phase plant wavetable, and then the saw wave here and some bright white noise. Those are all going through this low pass and then into 3 different types of filters, some distortion, and a compressor. And then that's going into my typical growl processing, turning the formant shift down quite a bit. That's then going into a fat rack and EQ, a fresh air to turn the high end up, and then another final EQ that's going into the serum effects, which is just being used for the hyperdimension. And then that is, of course, being layered with the Pitchmap Colors, which has a high pass at 390 Hertz, and then the low pass is off, but it's using the pitch mode down to 75. So it's not affecting the higher frequencies. And then that's being layered again with the main bass, all of which sounds like this. Finally, I'm just going to go over how I used it in the rest of that demo track. First of all, this growl here, which is a vital going to a morph EQ and my typical growl processing. That's then going to here where the pitch map resides. It's being parallel processed, and this pitch map is just all D minor. The next bass is this one here, which is kind of complicated, I guess. This is a phase plant. I'm not going to go over how I made it, but it's got some dispersers on it and some extra processing. The main thing with the pitch maps is that I'm using 2 different instances of MIDI along with the pitch maps, one of which is just for the chords. If I play that alone, that has a high pass on it and a low pass. And then there's a second layer that is playing the melody on top of it. That has a scale shift up of 13 and a formant shift up of 12. And then both of those together with the main bass sound like this. This growl has changed just a tad. And then finally, I have this bass down here where I've automated the formant gamma. It's kind of acting as a low pass. This is a pretty normal bass using the Combs filter along with the reverb filter as well. That's going into a frequency shifter and a vocoder. And I have my pitch map colors right here with the scale shift up of 5 and a formant shift down of 2.5. And once again, I'm messing with this formant gamma, as you can see right there. Overall, I definitely recommend Pitchmap Colors over other similar plugins like normal Pitchmap or Retune, which I have as well. I'd say it's more intuitive than normal Pitchmap, as well as being more featureful than Retune, all the while having a cheaper base price than both. At a price of $100, I'd say it's worth the purchase if you have the money. For whatever reason, both Retune and Pitchmap are on sale right now, Pitchmap being $89. That's crazy. Until the 19th, and Retune for $99 for who knows how long, both having original price points at around $150. If you're gonna buy one of these plugins, obviously go with normal Pitchmap until the 19th because it's cheaper than the rest, but beyond that, Pitchmap Colors is the best of the bunch. If you'd like to try or buy it, the link is in the description. I swear I'm not sponsored, I paid money for this thing, alright? That's all for now. Check this plugin out. Join the Discord, link in the description. Peace.